Somebody posted a video on Twitter the other day, and it was somebody who had stuck a camera on a tripod, I think in New York City in the 50s. And you don't see many of these things where it was like this kind of non-intentionally made video. And it just showed people walking by. And all the comments were fascinating. It's like, wow, nobody's overweight. You know, it was just really interesting.
Yeah. And if you were doing a casting call to reshoot that scene, it wouldn't be so easy to get the cast lined up.
No, and it's just like, so then you then ask these questions that you're asking a lot, like what was different back then? You know, it's not like everybody was going to the gym. It's not like everybody, you know, was doing intermittent fasting. So then, well, what are the other culprits? It was probably what was on the shelves of the supermarket at the end of the day, right? And so what has changed, and what are the big red flags that people need to be aware of? And I love the fact you also link it back to personal responsibility, because just pointing the finger at big food and big pharma isn't the solution either.
One of our big messages, and this is very, very important for anybody who's carrying extra weight, particularly if they've gone out into the, say, obese range, or they developed type 2 diabetes, the first message we have for them is actually the opposite of that. It's to say it's not your fault. It isn't your fault because you're living in an environment with education, food regulation, and food production around you that basically makes it very difficult to maintain a healthy lifestyle. So it's not their fault, but it is their responsibility. Nobody else will take the kind of responsibility for their health that they need to. So once we say, hey, look, you know, this has been done to you, but now you need to do something about it. And that's our job, is to help them figure out how to do that. So in order to understand the nature of the problem, one of the things we want to figure out is what caused it. If you can't solve it if you don't know what caused it. And that's difficult. I mean, what humans very often want to do is find the one thing. Yeah. Oh, it's this. It's sugar caused.
It's high fructose corn syrup.
It's high fructose corn. That's got to be the problem. But I would suggest to you that as the Romans knew about diabetes, and they did because what they would do is line up soldiers in a line and have them pee on the ground. And then they'd know which soldier peed in each spot. And then from the ants' behavior, they could tell which of the soldiers had too much sugar in their urine. In other words, this is not high fructose corn syrup's fault. High fructose corn syrup has certainly done some serious damage, but it's a cumulative effect of many changes. And I would say that the beginning of the problem was when we made changes to our food production and supply substantial enough to remove seasonality. Humans evolved, basically starvation was the number one threat to humans for most of our history. And so we had to evolve behaviors, but also metabolisms that would allow us to survive the seasonal fluctuations that Mother Nature foisted upon us. She wasn't very nice. I mean, one day she'd come along and go, hey, Brian, look, all the berries are on the tree and there's lots of fruit, vegetables. And you know what? There's even some honey for you. And that would last for a couple of weeks. And then she'd come along and go, no more food for you. Drought. In fact, water is going to be difficult. And that would last for some time. And then suddenly she'd go, okay, you can have water again. And with the water, plants are going to come back and the hunting's going to get good. And we would run through these cycles. And we didn't have to use willpower to do that. They happened to us, but we did have to survive them. So one interesting way to look at this is bears, right? We all know that bears fatten up for the winter. How do they do that? Do they have an app? Did Apple produce a app for them? Oh, look, it's time. No. Berries and other carbohydrate foods became very prolific and common during that season. They ate them in abundance. And as they ate them, it stimulated their craving to eat more. In other words, the more sugar they ate, the more sugar they wanted. It slowed their metabolism down. It started putting their metabolism into, say, hibernation, preparing them for real hibernation. And then they went into winter. What do you think would happen to that bear if we left them in that season? If we just left them in fall? Obesity and diabetes.
Got it.
So I think that's where it begins. And it started a long time ago, but then it hit this massive acceleration, from 1940 to 1980 and from 1980 today. Matter of fact, I believe that at the turn of in 1800, the average American was eating about 4 pounds of sugar a year. By 1900, it was 40 pounds of sugar. That's already a pretty big jump. But today it's about 154 pounds of sugar. So sugar's clearly part of the problem. And then you've got high fructose corn syrup. Then you have seed oils, the sudden vegetable oils that have barely anything to do with vegetables. And all of these cumulative things and additives and preservatives, they're all contributing. But at the end of the day, we now have metabolic imbalance and it's dangerous.
Wow. And the education, there is no education when it comes to food. I mean, you pretty much,
Well, there's education, but it's confusion.
Right. I mean, the pyramid and all this. And again, you've got a lot of the agencies that we've now seen from some of what happened during the pandemic that are really in bed or sometimes the same people as...
Self-regulated.
Right.
Food industry self-regulated, pharma self-regulated. the food pyramid's interesting. So you will remember probably the 4 food groups that we grew up with in North America. The 4 food groups were stimulated.
They're like vegetables and fruits and grains, meats, and then I don't know.
And then dairy products.
Yeah,
I think.
okay.
And the idea there is, it's actually a neat metaphor. You remember the game Risk?
Yeah.
So you have your little color pieces and you're trying to take over the planet.
Great game.
The food industry they play the same game, only their board is the plate. And so you've got the meat people trying to get their share of the plate, and then you got the carb people trying to get their share. And the only way they can increase their share, there's only 2 ways they can do it. The one is to get people to believe that their food is better,
right,
or that the other food is worse, right? So anti-marketing. So you've got all these little lobbyists that are marketing to build up the value of their food, and at the same time, they're anti-marketing their competitors. So they're always trying to win each other's share. And the best example of this, and this has been discussed on, it sounds conspiratorial, but it's very common knowledge at this point. But the sugar industry figured out that sugar consumption was correlative and possibly causal for heart disease in the 1940s and 50s. And so they realized that was bad for business. And so they hired a couple of Harvard researchers, paid them about $50K in today's money, and said, could you frame fat for this? And they published an article, and they published a study that said fat is the problem and we need to move. And that got published in one of the journals that didn't require disclosure of funding. And so it became lore. And we all, and no kidding, I think the guy's name was Andrew Haas. I don't know why the name sticks in my head. And he was like the chairman of the Beet Growers Association or something. And in roughly 1954, he's giving a speech. And he says in the speech, he goes, some interesting news has happened today. It turns out that fat is the culprit that's causing this horrible and prolific expansion of heart disease. And so as the American people turn away from fat, if we can claim half of the fat calories and maintain our current 20%, we're in for a boon of profitability. I mean, he said this. But what he didn't say to everybody that day was that he paid for the research.
Got it. Wow. And that was early. This is 50s?
Oh, yeah. 60s. It's been going on a long time.
And so my mom had us drink non-fat milk when I grew up in the 70s. Yeah. It was skim milk. And that, I'm sure, was a result of what that study was.
Yeah.
Because fat was bad. And then we heard about the eggs and then the cholesterol and all that. And then, of course, that morphed into the low-fat industry that was really the high-sugar industry.
Yeah.
And we went through this whole cycle back when there was no internet and there was no way to put out any alternative media. And it worked.
Yeah.
I mean,
eggs are such a good one. Because right here in this country, the Daily Mail, I mean, what an incredible publication.
It's one of the biggest global publications.
It is now, massively read. 2 articles, some time apart from each other. One of them says, eggs are prohibitive. Their eggs are, help to fight against the development of diabetes. Another one, headline says, the consumption of eggs tied to increased risk of diabetes. And as I believe that not to be true, I thought, what I'll do is I'll do something most people don't really get to. And that is, instead of just getting my education from the headline, I'll actually read the story. So in reading the story, I found the study that they talked about. And then I went a step way further than most people. I decided to read the study. And so now I'm reading the actual study. And the study was 2,000 people. And it went on to say that a strange thing was observed. And that was that for some people, they had a slight uptick of blood sugar in the study, but only women. And that was really puzzling to me because men and women have some differences. There's no question about that, but not that different that you would produce, your metabolism would run that differently. I'm curious. So I keep reading. Now, wait, before I get to keep reading, you have to understand it said a slight uptick in blood sugar. So from there, the Daily Mail goes to increases risk of diabetes. That's already a pretty big logic jump, right? That's clickbait. There's something not right there. But then you read the disclosures of the study. And in the disclosures of the study, it says right there, the women in this study largely did not enjoy the consumption of eggs in boiled, poached, fried, or scrambled form. And so they ate their eggs in the form of baked goods, including muffins. I'm not kidding you. So from women eat muffins causing increase of blood sugar, we go to eggs cause diabetes.
That's insane.
Yeah.
And what does that teach us?
Well, I think I saw Denzel Washington say this the other day. He goes, if you don't read the news, you're not informed. And if you do read the news, you're misinformed. We have to be discerning.
Yeah. Do you think we've all learned to be a bit more discerning in the past 4 years or not?
That's a really interesting question. I would say that many people have, and that many other people have even become more locked into not doing that. One of the big things that happened over the last 4 years is that manipulative marketing campaigns and slogans were designed to shame people for thinking for themselves. So, you suddenly had this thing of people like chastising you for like doing the research. Well, like pre 4 years ago, if you were going to go buy a car, you would go do the research and see if that was a good car to buy. Especially if it was a second-hand car, you'd go buy the Lemonade guidebook and you would do the research. But suddenly, starting in the last 4 years, for who knows what reason, in order to do research, apparently you needed to be a PhD. And so the minute you wrote, well, I've been doing some research about this thing, oh, you did your research. And so it sort of shamed the idea of thinking for yourself. And I think that's a dangerous thing.
Yeah. It's, and then again, a lot of the slogans and some of this you can now trace back to be this kind of like psychological warfare and really getting you on a team or off a team. And I think some people are aware of it and others aren't. And now everyone's getting better at it.
Yeah.
So Jim Rickards has just recorded a video that's not available to anyone in the public. And he's going to be talking about how this upcoming recession is going to be fast. It's going to be bloody. It's going to be nasty. But at the same time, he's going to show you how you can position yourself to profit from all of this chaos. Now, we've made this video only available to our viewers. Go to londonreal.tv/Jim. Watch that immediately. I can't say enough good things about Jim Rickards. He understands the global economic system better than any guest I've ever had on London Real. His predictions are almost uncannily true, and you can learn how to profit from his vision, from his expertise, and his understanding of economics. So go to londonreal.tv/Jim or click the link below. It's an excellent, excellent look on what's going to happen in the future and how you can position yourself to profit from that. Jim is one of the best in the business, one of my favorite guests on London Real, and he's very, very good at predicting the future and showing us all to profit from it. So click the link, and I hope you enjoy. Hey, do you want to profit from crypto? Then join my DeFi Academy. The Crypto DeFi Academy will help you create generational wealth. But don't take my word for it. Listen to my students.
When I first got into crypto, I remember thinking to myself, I need to learn more. Brian Rose, learning crypto, learning DeFi, gotta do it.
I am so grateful that I jumped in and did this. I had to break through some limiting beliefs that I can do this, that I can afford this, that I can be in this.
It challenges the things that are deeply rooted within us.
Joining DeFi Academy has been one of the best decisions I have made on my blockchain journey.
This course was a life changer, a game changer, a huge eye-opener, coming from knowing practically nothing at the speed of the learning over 4 weeks was just fantastic.
The information you provided in this class was invaluable.
I feel far more confident in my next steps.
You took complex concepts and made them easier to understand.
What's different than so many other ones is it just doesn't tell you what to do. It actually makes you do it.
This is for people who are serious about becoming traders. This is the way it should be done.
I realized from this learning experience again that it is not about what you learn, but about who you learn it from.
The energy was insane. I've never experienced such incredible energy on a live call. Brian Rose, you are a legend, my friend.
It's the only thing in the market where you can get all information and learn everything what you need to know.
Everything is so clear and so well done, and I am just forever grateful for this program.
It made me feel so much more confident about crypto than I did before.
I did not anticipate how passionate I was going to become about it.
This course has been like a big learning experience for me, not just in the crypto space, but just in overall balance of life.
What I've learned is, how to take ownership, of my life in a way that I really hadn't before.
Yeah, you can't put a price on that, really.
I would recommend it to anybody, top notch.
Excellence does not come cheap. So if you want excellence, you got to pay for it, but it's so worth it.
Pull the trigger. That's what this course is about.
You're not going to regret it, really. It's amazing.
Thank you, Brian and team.
So what are you waiting for? Crypto is happening now. Click the link below, submit your application, and let me mentor you on how to create generational wealth and build the decentralized financial infrastructure of the future.